You know, it's simple-minded people like that, the ones that are afraid of change. They use everything in their power to defend what they stand up for. And
this is where I
trying to listen and understand.
So this is where I say, like, he's not Smollett, of course, but like I mean, you in a perfect world should have to respond. You should have to own that statement. You won't have to just float away. The person in the view, I'm sure, didn't follow up. So the Wallace thing, I got a lot of tweets tonight because, you know, I just mentioned, like, it's like every other sort of story that doesn't quite add up. The first time I heard it, I thought, geez, that's maybe he's telling the truth. I didn't think it was as egregious as, say, Torii Hunter or Adam Jones or Smollett, if you're looking for hate crimes, or Charles Stewart or any of those. But it just seemed to strain any reality that somebody would, like, mastermind their way in. These NASCAR cars are literally worth, if you think of the investment, worth millions of dollars. So someone's going to sneak in there under no security, no one sees it, in the middle of a pandemic, puts a noose up there, and then leaves. There's no photographs taken, nothing. So, I mean, I just didn't believe it.
Or just that someone within the organization would do that to begin with seems odd.
Yeah, it just doesn't, you know, I mean, it could happen. But, you know, as we learned tonight, you know, that's not the case. And the FBI must have walked in there and just laughed like 45 seconds in, been like, again, like, you're having us flying around during this fucking thing to do this that took 2 seconds. So, I don't think Wallace is like quite like Smollett. I don't. Like, Smollett is bizarre. But I will say, like, Wallace went on The View today, and he was lecturing, and he was finger wagging, and it's kind of like, well, you know, the story's not true. It's just,
well, it wasn't him that found it, right? Wasn't it a teammate or something?
I think it was a NASCAR. Yeah, and the NASCAR official actually informed him. So that's where it's different. It wasn't premeditated, but he could have said at some point, well, let's hold on, let's have all the facts, let's see what happens, let's ask a few questions, let's investigate before we go on this tirade. And this is where the media just loses me every time. You know, ESPN, the Globe, the Washington Post, politicians, you name it, everybody. There's some super liberal guy, I forget his name. He eats a lot of pizza and has a blue check mark, and I think might buy the Mets, who tweeted that he stands with them. And I'm just like, well, I mean, that's great that you stand with them, but, like, do you think there's a chance that the fucking story is not real? So, but here's the thing, though. Again, I think people, and this is what happens, is because of the stuff like with the Ellie Schnitt or with the Adam Jones or with Torii Hunter, that if you doubt it all, you know, I think a big percentage were like, fuck it, I'm just sitting out of this because why? I'm gonna get labeled a racist for no fucking reason. So, and that's what happens. You kind of get silenced.
Yeah, that's my problem with this, is how badly people want it to be true. Like anyone that brought up, well, hold on, maybe it's just a garage door pulling thing. They got laughed at. Like, it was just like, how the fuck? It has to be this horrible thing. And there's probably very pissed that it's not now.
That Washington Post headline that you retweeted, Kirk, is a perfect example of that. It was only a matter of time before this happened. And I just read Renee Graham's Boston Globe column, and there's a note at the top that says it's been updated to reflect breaking news, but they're still calling it a noose. Like, so every single rope that is tied with a circle on it is going to be a noose now and carry racial connotations.
Well, the other thing is, like, did the people, like, involved with Wallace's team, like, look around and other cars?
That's a great question. I want to interview the guy who discovered this.
Yeah, it doesn't make it.
I want to know the first guy who saw that and was like, "That's a hate crime,"
which is odd, and that's immediately where you go to. This has to be a noose rather than just a rope hanging from the ceiling that pulls the garage door down.
Yeah, I think people want that to be true. And look, I mean, people always ask this. We dealt with it with Torii Hunter. We dealt with it where people say, well, why would somebody make that up? How does it benefit them? Well, I would say the Wallace brand, you know, over the last couple of days was really high. I'm sure they sold a lot of merchandise. He made a lot of television appearances. You know, he became kind of a spokesman for all this. And, like, again, I'm not saying it's different than Smollett. It is. But a lot of it's similar. And the media in particular, again, rooting for this to be true, wagging fingers, calling people racist with absolutely nope. And nobody on a national scale really said, is there a chance? You know, and I mean, it's the same as Smollett. For me, when I saw that, I was like, this seems really, really unlikely. But when you say that, then it comes, you know, that crowd where you're racist.
Exactly. Skepticism is racist now.
Well, it's not even that. Why would he lie? Because I don't. He's not necessarily lying. He could just be wrong. No. Like the idea that there's no way Adam Jones misheard someone among 35,000 people, or Torii Hunter, or the fact that this guy couldn't have just.
What's different though is that he didn't. He should have known better. Like, he has been in the sport. He should have known what that was. He should have waited. He should have asked a few questions. And I mean, like, and I think I saw Jason Whitlock tweet this out tonight. What the fuck is NASCAR doing? Like, what, do you have an internal investigation first before you set this stuff out? And but I mean,
NASCAR in a way, they have to protect themselves. Like, one tweet that there's a noose in this garage gets out. I mean, they've got to call the CIA, the FBI, the U.S. Army. They've got to call everybody in order to protect themselves from the criticism from MSNBC or CNN or something like that.
And that video from Fox that was going around yesterday of, I forget the broadcaster's name, but whoever calls the races or whatever, that was like recapping the day. What a tragic day this was for NASCAR and the country. And don't you look back at that now and feel silly? But they'll just do it again next time. They don't give a fuck.
No, they get, it's like Dale Arnold, Dale Arnold, Dale and Dave.
What a fucking idiot.
Who do you think it is? One of these fellas?
I mean, you could put the tweets up now. I don't know if it's Dale Arnold, Dave Portnoy at this point. I mean, really, I mean, Dale will eat the whole pizza, but it's like people do that so you could say, and you're also covered, like you said, because once you get caught, no one's going to remember that you took the side that fucking was wrong on this. It's just, what you believe because you want to believe, and it's just a bizarre. So, I mean, and I tweeted this out tonight, like, it's okay. And I'll do it forever. It's okay to ask a few questions when something like this pops up that when you look at it intellectually makes no sense. Torii Hunter intellectually makes no sense. L. Duncan, to me, well, that may make some sense. I think Jimmy Butler, the basketball player, told a story a couple weeks ago, and I read this story. I was like, oh, I think that happened for sure. So, I mean, it's like, I think you can look at things case by case, but that being said, you can't because you can't win.
I also think it's not that crazy to believe Bubba Wallace, like just instinctively say, oh, I hear that story and say, I believe that. But then when it's found out that it's wrong, to not be kind of pissed that you believe that and that was reported everywhere, your instinct should be to be angry at that, but instead they'll just ignore it or call you racist for thinking that's the first thing you thought of or whatever.
Or you should be happy that there wasn't a racist
incident.
Right. But some people like Trill Withers, you saw those tweets that I sent you, another one of our fine colleagues at Barstool Sports, he's like still believing it and saying like, well, no, it had to be a noose. I mean, look at the rope. Why would the rope be shaped that way if it wasn't a hate crime? It's bizarre. They're almost doubling down on their belief.
I think everyone at Barstool is great. I think he's right. I don't know who that is, but I'm sure he's totally right.
How much money does Trill Withers make? Check that before we insult him.
Who is that?
He does a podcast with Coley.
With who?
Coley Mick.
I don't know who that is. Oh, okay.
He's the basketball guy, I think.
Oh yeah, okay. I don't know. I'm sure he's a nice guy. But yeah. So I mean, yeah. So I just think, nobody will offer a correction. Nobody will say, "Hey, we overreacted." No one. It'll be the next time. I mean, it could happen tomorrow. Somebody could tell us the same exact people would say, "Oh my God, what a terrible time! I can't believe this. I can't believe this is happening." Now, all I want to know is what is Bubba Wallace going to say? Like, how does he?
Probably nothing. Because it's not like Jessie Smollet where he has to answer questions. Really, he's not the guy who found out. I don't think he'll say much about it.
And he'll say thank you to NASCAR, thank you to the FBI for a quick investigation.
Yeah, I'm glad that's not what it was.
He was on The View today, and I mean, it was just like it was just. Do you have that sound, Steve, or no?
Yeah.
People are suggesting that this is a hoax or perhaps even staged by NASCAR to garner more support for the removal of the Confederate flag. But my understanding is that the only people who have access to the area where the noose was found are the racing teams and perhaps a few essential workers. So what would you say to those people who are doubting that this even happened or that it's true?
Yeah, just like Steve Phelps said, it offends me that people would go to those measures. But again, I'm not shocked. People are entitled to their own opinion to make them feel good, whatever, help them sleep at night. But it is still an ongoing investigation with the FBI. I can now say I've talked to the FBI. Never thought that would happen. But it's just unfortunate circumstances and in a terrible time that we're in right now. Year 2020 will be one year to for sure forget moving forward. But it's simple-minded people like that, the ones that are afraid of change. They use everything in their power to defend what they stand up for. and
this is where I
trying to listen and understand.
So this is where I say, like, he's not Smollett, of course, but like I mean, you in a perfect world should have to respond. You should have to own that statement. You won't have to just float away. The person on The View, I'm sure, didn't follow up. The person on The View, of course, frames it like, what do you say about some people? That person has doubts. Every single human being had some level of doubt of that story when they saw it. I'm not saying they didn't believe it or didn't believe it, but anybody with a fucking brain said, geez, that seems really, really, really strange. I wonder if that's exactly what happened. And, you know, simple-minded. And again, you just call it, it's the easiest card to play. You're racist if you don't believe it. You're a racist. Well, it's not. So it's not true. So you're still a racist for believing something that, in fact, turned out to be right? Like, it's fucking crazy.
Also, why is it a bad thing that your instinct is to question the story because you don't believe there's that much racism in the world? Like he says, if it helps you sleep at night, that's a good thing. If it helps you sleep at night to not assume there's racists all over the country sneaking into buildings, that's a positive.
I think that assumption though is at the foundation of the left-wing belief system. Like that's what the structural racism, systemic racism thing is all about. And if you don't assume that there's just racism everywhere lurking behind every door, then you're in fact racist for not acknowledging systemic racism.